So welcome to the Nacelle WonderCon panel with all these wonderful guests, my friends and colleagues. And I guess for anyone watching that's not familiar with who everybody is, why don't we just have each one of you introduce yourselves and say who you are and maybe why you're here on this panel.
Brian, do you want to start?
I'm Brian Volk-Weiss, founder of the Nacelle Company, and I was about to steal Belomo's line, I love toys, but then I realized I'd be stealing Belomo's line. So I kind of just stole it because I gave him credit, but I still kind of stole it. I love toys. Oh, and we're here to talk about our new show, A Toy Store Near You.
Great.
My name is Richard Mayerik. I'm a producer at Nacelle Company. I work with Brian and Robin, and I'm on this panel because I also like toys, and Brian was nice enough to let me join. So thank you, Brian.
Right. I'm pretty sure we're here because of you, Rich.
Oh, thank you.
For better or worse, and I think it's for better, but I think this is all you. I'm pretty sure I didn't find a virtual WonderCon thing.
I'll take it. I'll take it. All right, Dave.
I'm David Vonner. I'm a designer for Mattel, over at Mattel on WWE, and I've worked at Hasbro, working on Marvel, worked at Toy Biz, working on Marvel, and having fun. And I love talking about toys. Practically grew up in a toy store / comic book store, so this is very fun. It's great to see you guys and chop it up and talk about it.
Vonner is also possibly the only person qualified to be on this panel. So,
wow, that's a lot. That's saying a lot. Please don't give me the tools for surgery because we might be in for a big surprise.
Billy.
All right, I'm Billy Galaxy, and I also like toys quite a bit. And I do have one of those toy stores that is near you if you live in the Pacific Northwest. And I've been helping out on this show, and I guess there's an episode with me in it. So I guess we're here to talk about that.
the first episode, the pilot.
That's right.
Oh, your toy shop is the first episode.
I am the guinea pig that suffered through everything so you could figure out what to tell other people to do.
Nice.
I see.
Nice.
And I didn't say that I was Robin Henry, but I work with a lot of these guys at Nacelle under Brian with Rich.
And what a lot of people don't know, my mother's nemesis at work when I was a child. This is true, David. This is not a joke. His name was Robin Henry. So my whole childhood. Rich, did you notice? My whole childhood. Every night I'd hear about that jerk Robin Henry, that jerk Robin Henry, and now I work with Robin Henry. Though my Robin Henry looks very different than my mom's Robin Henry.
Maybe.
Two very different Robin Henrys.
I don't know what Brian is saying at home. I have no idea about me. So I don't know.
Plausible deniability.
Exactly.
That's what
Who
it
knows?
is.
But before we start talking about the show, though, like, how are you guys coping with what's going on? I mean, that's probably the first thing everybody wants to know is, what are you guys doing in this pandemic?
Well, for me, WWE hasn't stopped, so we're continuing to work, at Mattel and alongside with all our other brands. It's still business as usual. So we're still working. We're all working from home. We're adjusting and everything, doing the best that we can. But it's funny, like on the end of all the, you hear about everything, but I kind of like it. You get more closer. I've gotten closer with relatives and friends I haven't seen in a while, and everything. Just communicating a little bit more. This gives me a lot of time to be able to focus on what the things that I love to do. So I kind of like it. And plus being an artist anyway, we always work remotely, and just something we always had. So being a freelance artist and all that stuff, we're kind of used to being, secluded and isolated from everyone else. So it's pretty much normal.
I've been bugging a little bit. I'm used to going out and doing a lot on a regular basis, so it's been a tough adjustment. Like, my thing that drives me forward is always like, you know, experiences. So having that rug pulled out has been a little rough, but at the same time, I've been so busy with stuff at Nacelle that it's been a fortunate distraction to keep all of my waking hours busy, so I don't have to think about everything that I love doing usually that I can't do right now. So I guess it's a
And Brian, you and Billy run businesses. Have you guys had to do anything differently to try to keep yourselves afloat?
Well, I own a retail business, which has changed drastically. I mean, I overnight had, you know, half or more of my income removed. And, you know, I don't go out much. I work all the time anyways. So, you know, going out hasn't changed too much, but, you know, I miss the interaction and seeing people every day and friends and customers come in and say hi, and just, I miss the human contact.
Yeah.
And we're getting a lot of stuff done at work that we wouldn't be getting done otherwise, but I don't know if that's necessarily what I want to be doing.
Right.
Billy, as you know, I got 3 kids, 6 and under. If you'd like to share some human contact that I've been stuck with for 47 days straight, I don't know if FedEx is shipping children yet, but I'd be happy to send you a 6-year. We're gonna keep the 2-year-old. He's not physically abusive yet, but you can have my daughter for a week.
No, I watched her literally kick your ass. I refuse.
But yeah, I actually started keeping a list of all, and I feel bad because people are dying and getting sick. But no, I mean, I literally, I'll show you this quickly. I made a list. I've been keeping a list. You know, number 1, lunch with my family every day. I have never done that before, ever. Put kids to bed every night. Never done that before. No driving.
Yeah.
No driving. No LAX. I've gone from 4 cups of coffee to 2 cups of coffee. Like, yeah. So there, and I'm working in my toy collection room. So yeah. There's some upside.
It's the routine, you know, whether it's good or bad, we get so used to a particular routine that once that routine is offset, we kind of don't know what to do. We kind of almost don't know how to rediscover ourselves. And when we do, it's like, man, you know, some things are definitely, a lot of things are bad, but there's some good things, and it's worth looking forward to the adjustment of it.
And go ahead, Brian.
David, before I forget, I probably tell you this every time we talk, but I just want to say it again because it hit me involuntarily. The greatest description of the USS Enterprise was said by you in our Star Trek episode of Toys That Made Us. Like, it was just, I'm paraphrasing, but you were like, it just felt like home.
Yeah.
Every time I hear your voice or see your name, I hear you saying, it just felt like home.
Oh, wow. But it does, you know,
No, I know, believe me.
You know, it just feels like, it's like when you go back to your old childhood, like home, or your grandma's home, your aunt's house, and you smell the smells and the comfort. You just, when I see those walls and the computers flickering in the screen and the uniforms, I just feel like I'm in a safe place. You know?
I saw this on a pillow once at like Bed Bath & Beyond, I think. Nothing is as cozy as a Constitution class refit Federation starship. But I didn't buy it. And by the way, this is where those of you that don't work at Nacelle should start to feel real bad for Robin, because she hears these jokes all day long. Robin and I have been all over the world, in airplanes, airports. She's just hearing these jokes all day long.
And I love them.
Oh.
Keep signing those paychecks.
Keep signing it. But you know, Robin and I also have a love for reality shows too. So we have a love for the Atlanta reality shows and the Little People reality shows. So it's like, you know, Robin, you can always hit me up. We can always have our convo about the reality shows.
Okay. Yeah, that's a convo I can't have with Brian. I got it.
Hey, I watched Tiger King. I watched all of Tiger King.
Hey, my wife just got finished watching it again. I mean, I watched that thing like about 12 times already. I put it, and I Tiger blood in it. I got tiger blood in my veins.
Wow. So this show that you got that's coming out, did the idea for this show, first, what is it? And did it come out of the crisis, the pandemic? How did the idea come about?
Yeah, so our office, as you know, is in Burbank. And by the way, Robin, first of all, thank you for hosting this. Appreciate it. Our office is in Burbank, and there are 4 toy stores, vintage toy stores on Magnolia, 2 of which Rich hid from me for years. So thank you for that, Rich.
I've got a competition in me.
But there are 4 stores, but there's really 2 stores in particular, Blast from the Past and Black Hat Comics and Collectibles or something. Definitely Black Cat. I don't know about the rest of it. And I heard that they were closing because of COVID, and I immediately was like, this is horrible. I mean, this is so crazy. Then my wife was watching a food show on YouTube on our TV at home in our bedroom. And I was like, we could do this. And it had nothing to do with COVID. It was literally about like how to make dumplings. But I was like, why don't we do for the toy stores what this show is doing for cooking? And then I literally, the next morning, I texted Billy, I spoke to Billy, and I just want to say for the record, I don't take this for granted at all. Billy was like, I'm in, but the bad news, I can't start shooting until tomorrow. And I'm like, that's okay, Billy. Most people would have said no, so tomorrow's fine. And then Billy jumped in and he sent us the footage super quick. And then I'd love to hear Billy's point of view on this, but I sent him notes on top of notes. It was originally just supposed to be Billy and his toys. Then it was supposed to be Billy and his toys in the store. Then it was Billy and the toys and his colleagues. Then it was Billy and the toys and the colleagues and the city of Portland. And then it was all of that. And we needed like a happy kind of Santa Claus ending. So Billy, and then all the other episodes are, and this is why Billy's an EP on the whole series, all the other episodes are getting these instructions up front. Only Billy was like every 9 hours, what about this? What about that? And then Billy was like, you got it.
Yeah, there was a lot of notes incoming and a lot of changes and evolution from the initial phone call you gave me when I was on the bus on the way to work.
So
And
how
actually,
does it,
I think
how
we started
does it
shooting
work?
that day.
What makes it different? What do you got? How is the shooting, Rich, either you or Billy? What are you being asked to do?
Well, me being asked to shoot something is strange because I don't do this professionally, unlike most of you guys. And I was pretty nervous about it from the get-go because I didn't know what you were going to do with all this terrible cell phone footage I'm sending you. And I have to say, I'm pretty impressed with what I have seen so far. Kudos to everybody at Nacelle for putting together, like, you know, a fancy product out of not much to work with.
I'm amazed too, but yeah, it's like a real TV show.
Rich, is it all cell phone?
So some stores have, you know, like consumer grade cameras. Some stores have cell phones or iPads. It's probably the most fascinating project I've ever worked on because it is so collaborative with all the stores. And like Billy said, like, you know, a lot of these store owners, they're not directors of photography, you know, they don't have maybe not necessarily like the same sort of like consistent eye to, you know, cinematography or whatnot, but they're doing such amazing work. You know, they're making it work. We're seeing a lot of creativity out of them. Like, we're seeing so much personality. It's cool to like watch the process, you know, progress and talking to all the different store owners and explaining, you know, what we need next and where it's going, you know, from like a narrative perspective, and then kind of seeing that light on their end, being like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, yeah. And like everyone that I've talked to has been so eager and excited, you know, like I haven't talked to one store who's just like, ooh, more notes, huh? They're like, cool, what else you need? Let me know. You know, I'll do it as soon as you need me to. So it's been really awesome to have that kind of energy on their end, and I think it's going to show in the show a lot.
Is it a profile of various toy stores? Is that, I mean, just give me what is it exactly?
Robin, can I just interject one thing?
Sure.
You know, Rich, as you know, one of my favorite sayings is brain surgery is easy if you know how to do it. What Rich either forgot or is being humble about is about 6 months ago when we premiered Toys That Made Us Season 3, Rich had created, built, and run a list of stores all across the country that helped us launch Season 3. So when we decided to do this, you know, Rich had already built this list, but equally importantly, had built these relationships. So I think that if we had not done that, and I think if it was not Rich making those phone calls and emails, I mean, I bagged the white whale. I got Billy, and I still remember what Billy's like when he didn't know me. So that being said, I'm sure we just shouldn't take it for granted that Rich was the one making these calls, because literally we probably had 30 stores booked in 5 days.
Right.
And that was because of what Rich had done for Season 3 and also in the meantime.
To you, Rich.
You go, Rich.
I mean, and I know this is going to sound schmaltzy, but that's my favorite thing about so much of what I've done on these shows is making these relationships and meeting these people. It's awesome. And knowing that if I'm ever on a road trip in pretty much any state in the country now, I can go to a toy store and know the owners there. And even if I haven't met them in person yet, it'll be a familiarity. So that's super cool. I like that a lot.
That's really
And
cool.
is each episode a profile?
I think it started out that way and then it evolved. Brian, do you want to kind of take that one?
Well, each episode is one store, but it's the world. It started off as just being about the store and the owners, and now it's about the store, the owners, the employees, the city, and, you know, everything around it.
And why is a show like this important?
Oof. For so many reasons. Dave, do you want to take a stab at that one first?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, for me, you know, just the significance and importance of comic book shops and toy stores, you know, hanging out there. I mean, it's like a library, you know, it's this library of stimulation that, you know, you just can't get out of, you know, and you stumble upon, you know, things that light your imagination, and it becomes, next thing you know, you're in there often, you're there every week or every day, you know, to see what's new, and you built it before. And it's almost like, you know, that is the human, at its core, that's like the human element of, like, you know, commerce and running in a bazaar and seeing, you know, the people come through. But it's all based on, like, you know, this reading and boosting your imagination. And you know, so like the comic book stores and toy stores for me were like so just, you know, that was my safe place. You know, I didn't hang out a lot, you know, everywhere else, you know, and you know, and during that time, like in the early 80s, you know, drugs started coming to the neighborhoods and everything, and things started to get a little bit crazy. So, you know, hanging out on the streets just for me was just a little bit crazy for me. You know, it was too fast for me. So going into the comic book stores and toy shops and just being immersed in that environment was just a safe place for me. And then within that, my imagination just flourished, you know, and I met guys in there, got cool with the owners, and, you know, it was like Christmas time every day. You know, you see the stuff come in, and again, you just build that rapport, build that relationship, and then you're part of this community, you know, and I think that's another thing. It's an extension of the pop culture community that we all enjoy and like to embrace and talk about, share, and the toy stores are, you know, that's like the birthing place of that stuff.
Yeah, it's totally the community thing. It's like these stores are important because they're the hubs for the people in their
Yeah.
respective communities that they can go and talk about, you know, Crystar or Remco toys,
Right.
or, you know.
Right. Without being mocked, or like someone can instantly get it, you know. And for a kid, you know, we tend to forget, but for a kid, that is important to be understood. So just by your peers kind of getting it, or that adult that you see in the toy store, you know, when they understand what it is you're talking about, after holding all that in for days and weeks at a time, and you can actually talk about it and then get it, that is so, it's such a relief. And with that, as a kid, you want to experience that and grow, you know. So, and that's important for a kid. And I think that that's, as we see the decline of toy stores and comic book shops and just art in schools and stuff like that, we see how it manifests in kids, in our children, and how they behave, how they, you know, their tempers are flared out, short attention spans, and you know, none of that went down. And back in the day, you know, we were all captivated. You know, I mean, we might have went crazy in a toy store, in a toy aisle in the store, but when it came to like the comic book, you know, like really understanding it, like, you know, going there on off days, not just the holiday season, but off days, we were cool, you know. And that's important for kids to be able to flourish and experience.
And Brian, when you came up with the show, when you and Rich came up with it, were you thinking that is because of our economic times now that this was a way to help these stores survive?
Yeah, the initial idea was, how do we get like money to the stores as quick as possible? That was the first inspiration. I would say our ability to achieve that goal, I'd give it a B minus so far. And then how do we get them more exposure as quickly as possible? And that, I predict, will be between an A and an A plus. But that was the initial. And, you know, it was also like, Nacelle was dealing with COVID as well. So, like, you know, we have a couple dozen employees that over the course of 9 days went from working in one building to working in a couple dozen houses and homes and apartments spread out over 60 miles. So we were and we are very busy. As you know, we got a lot of series going. But there were definitely people within the company that were not as busy as, you know, they would have been had we still been in the building. And I don't want to lay anybody off. I don't want to give pay cuts. I don't want to give furloughs. And this is actually something Billy says in his episode, where, you know, you really want to protect your staff during a time like this, the way they protect you when it's not like this. So it kind of killed a lot of birds with one stone. It's like, you know, it's not like I own a meat packing company and I'm like, let's make a TV show. You know, I own a production company. We had moved all of the equipment to the people's houses. So like Danny and Gabriel that do color correction, we moved all their stuff to their homes. So that whole infrastructure existed. And we, like I said, because Billy jumped in so quickly, you know, we're going to be able to I had really hoped that we would have the first episodes come out in April. We're going to technically have them come out in May. That's the good news. I say technical because it's pretty much the penultimate day of May. Listen, we went from an idea to locking the first episode in like 28 days, maybe even less days than that. So we're going to do our best to get them out there. But the last thing I'll say about this, in my opinion, it's also like a core sample of the world going through COVID, because it just happens to be toy stores. Like it could be flower shops. It could be a mechanic's garage.
Yeah.
So anybody who owns anything that's not a giant company, or anybody who works anywhere that's not a giant company, will be able to relate to this, except every now and then we cut to some cool toys.
Of course.
Which a lot of people still remember from their childhoods.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and I want to say that, you know, like, I think Brian and I share the same mind on, you know, keeping our people working and treating them well, you know, because they treat us well. You know, I think that Brian and I both have some pretty great employees. And, you know, I think it also shows the sincerity of, you know, Brian and the Nacelle Company in their previous projects, like the Toys That Made Us. I mean, there's other shows that have been about toys and various things. They sort of exploit the toy community, the collecting community.
Yes.
And, you know, that's all they're interested in is financial gain from it. But, you know, I think that Nacelle doing this really shows most people's, I'm looking at you here, Robin, most people's love of collecting toys.
Robin's brother, just before you go there, Billy, I'll have you know, Robin's brother had Star Wars sheets.
I still have Star Wars sheets.
And he collects toys. My brother collects toys.
To be fair, Robin, by the time that we were done shooting season 3, you had a whole shelf in your office of toys.
True. That is all true.
I want to see a picture.
By the way, that's one of my favorite stories about Rich. When Rich first started working with us, he every day was having boxes show up. And by the way, the day Toys That Made Us got greenlit, I think I had about 500 toys. In less than 3 years, I think I now have around 2,000 toys. I would see Rich come in with these boxes every goddamn day, and I'm like, what a freak. Like, what is this guy getting every goddamn day? Cut to me less than a year later, like, my hands were shaking if a box didn't come. Like, I now have boxes daily, so.
Yeah.
I can vouch for this. I've watched Brian's evolution as a collector over the last couple of years, and
but by the way,
he's on an uptick.
And Billy and I have never talked about this before, but like, how many times and for how many years were you like, this is the guy who created Toys That Made Us? I mean, it literally, like, this is like, it must have driven you crazy. I'd be like, wait, how?
No. If the first time you ever came in and we talked, you clearly, you know, if you didn't have the knowledge about the toys, you had a love for the toys and an appreciation for it. And I was surprised the first time I actually went down to your studios and met Rich face to face. I was like, oh, holy, you know, not only is there people that like toys here, but there's actually somebody that knows a lot about toys working on the show, which I found amazing. Like, I was very surprised.
I haven't been down for about a year, but I mean, Rich, that has spread. And one of my favorite things that happened was Rich was sharing an office this year with these two lovely ladies on a show we're doing for BET Plus. If I had to guess, and I could be wrong, but if I had to guess, these ladies had not bought a toy for themselves in decades. And I would say within 3 months of them sharing an office, they started having like the walls were getting covered with toys. So Rich has definitely spread that to the whole company.
Now, they were Rich's toys. They weren't the girls' toys, but you know.
No, some of them were.
I'm kidding, Brian.
That's what I love about
Robin, to your point, yeah, Rich had definitely crossed the halfway mark of the wall.
With Lisa's blessing, I asked her, and she said, "Go for it."
Oh.
That's what I love about toys. You know, it's like, you know, there's always a toy that you either always wanted or wish you had, or something that just piques your interest, like at weird times of your life, you know, and everyone experiences that, you know. So that's what I love about the toys. Even though you may not be a current collector, there's still something that you always wanted or that you had that you were super in love with or obsessed with, you know.
What was the toy that you wanted?
Oh man, hey, it's a lot. Like, but see, I'm also an only child, so I
Me
was
too.
fortunate enough to get a lot of the stuff that I wanted.
Wow, this says a lot.
You know, and I knew no other way, and it wasn't until I became an adult to feed my own habit that I realized, man, there's bills and families and kids and all this other stuff you gotta take care of first, and then your toy obsession. So I had to figure out how to space everything, how to prioritize everything in its right way, you know. But honestly, the big lesson for me, outside of collecting was, I went through a divorce and lost my collection, but I had to learn how to let that stuff go, because it was like the things that you own wind up owning you, So I had wound up getting a complete different mindset of my collection and collecting habits once I let stuff go and then started collecting again. Then I started to collect with more of a purpose or a drive, less of just the habit or the obsession part. But it still kicks in. It still kicks in.
And David, I'm so curious about this because I've actually never heard anyone say that before. So when you went through your divorce, your ex-wife was like, "You got to sell the toys."
Oh, all my stuff, was like, just all messed up. It was all tied up in the divorce and everything, and also like I'm here in California, my family's over. My ex-wife is in the East Coast, so that was also another driving point for her to kind of get rid of everything. But that was such a touchy point in the beginning because it was my collection.
Yeah.
But then I had to learn to kind of like.
I see the fear in Brian's eyes.
Prenup.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It was wild because I had to learn to let go of those possessions in order to really
That's one way to handle it.
Value and all that stuff. Yeah, that is one way to handle it.
Well, no, I mean, you'd be surprised how often we get involved in divorce proceedings. Like attorneys always approach us to get an evaluation of, if somebody's lying about the value of their collection or whatever. A lot of it just legal stuff in general. It's kind of surprising how often we wind up involved in that, like just as far as like estates go, as well as divorces. And
yeah.
You see some pretty bitter divorces too. It's rough.
If you're making your spouse sell their toys, I take it for granted that's a bitter divorce. But I assume the value of the toy during the divorce is what's at play, not the value of the toy when the toy was purchased.
I mean, it depends on what the current legal team is looking at.
Brian, are you getting your ducks in a row?
I mean, knock on wood, I got the most stable marriage ever, but I am looking around a little differently.
Yeah. And I mean,
Rich, you reevaluating your life, your stuff.
And what's really brutal is when couples split up that are both collectors, and they actually need to split up the toys. That's a little bit of an unusual situation, but I've seen it, and it's like, man, they like nitpicking over like who gets what.
I mean, there is no worse feeling than knowing that something that you collected or paid money for, that you obsessed about, is being sold on your front lawn for $5. Let me tell you, you want to talk about stab in the heart when your entire collection or whatever it is gone. Oh boy.
Okay, David, let me know next time this happens. I hope it doesn't, but you call me up.
I think Rich nearly burst into tears. That hurts.
This is a very special episode of WonderCon.
I was going to say,
that's the untold story of toys, man. When they leave you, when the toys go, oh.
You might be pitching that, Brian, next. This is something I would watch.
I think 100 episodes of that one.
Yeah.
There's a photograph going around.
We have. Oh, sorry.
In a courtroom. There's these two people in a courtroom, obviously going through some divorce proceedings, and there's like 100 Beanie Babies on the floor, and they're literally on their knees divvying up which one belongs to who. His photo's been around forever, but never doesn't elicit a chuckle.
I can believe it.
But Vonner, to your point, we have this, as you know, you live here too. We get fires now every 2 years, and we got to do this fun thing called evacuate.
Yep.
The first time I had to evacuate 2 years ago, I took like my R2-D2 from when I was a kid, my Galaxy class Enterprise from when I was a kid.
Oh.
By the way, everything I took was worth $20 or less. My most prized stuff would have burnt into rubber had the fire gotten in my. I literally only took my from when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, I can believe it. I can believe
Yeah,
it.
I mean, you can buy all that other stuff later. You can't replace like your childhood.
Yeah,
Well, I
the
don't know if I can buy a phase
R2D2,
plasma rifle and a 40-watt range screen used from Terminator 1, but still, point.
Was that R2D2 you had? Was that the old remote one from back in the day?
It's gonna go get it.
Here we go. We're gonna get to see it.
Because I'm gonna tell you, I used to live in Atlantic City in the projects called Pitney Village, and one time my house was broken into 4 times, twice in 1 month, and once by a next door neighbor.
Well,
And one time they broke into our house, they took my R2D2, and to this very day, I don't even associate with the people that I used to live in the projects with, because it brings up so many feelings of my stolen R2D2.
Wow.
I will say this first. I know a lot of people that have grown up in projects. I couldn't even imagine the projects in Atlantic City. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry for you. Oh my God. It didn't even dawn on me. That is a horrible city. No offense. It's funny. I got pickpocketed. I went to Chile about 10 years ago, and I got pickpocketed. And I will never forget that feeling of putting my hand in my pants and my wallet wasn't there.
Complete violation.
And I always say to myself when I travel, if I get pickpocketed, I pray to God I don't catch the person. If I did, it'd be bad. So I can only imagine how you feel even when you see one of those R2D2s.
Oh man, like that was, to be quite honest with you, that was a driving force behind me working at Hasbro.
Wow.
And I wound up getting the newer version of that R2D2, because I remember when my mom, she called me and she said, "Baby, go to the house and they took your R2D2." And that was like, for me as a kid, kids care about everything at their little age, and that devastated me. And I remember that was like one of those things that just drove me and drove me and drove me. And then when I became an adult and the opportunity came up for me to work at Hasbro, that's all I could see. That's all I could envision was my R2D2 getting that back. I finally got one, and I sent it to my mom.
That's a hell of a story.
We got it back. We got it back.
I hate doing this because I know we're supposed to be talking about the show and everything, but I feel like all of us but you are kind of like toy civilians, and you're like a toy astronaut. Like, what is it like? Like, how did you get hired there? What was the first day like? What was the first thing you did? Like, what is it like to work at Hasbro?
Man, it's whether we're with Toy Biz, Hasbro, Mattel, I always just try to keep my cool. But in my mind, I'm going crazy. Like at Hasbro, I would see all the Transformers stuff, G.I. Joe, at Mattel, seeing all the He-Man stuff, the old Mattel handheld video games, and of course in the Toy Biz with Marvel and stuff. And I would just be in awe. And, when we walk around giving the tours and everything, and I would act like I got it together, but on the inside, I was going crazy. I was crazy. I mean, I would hope that I wasn't sweating and everything, or stuttering and shaking and stuff. I mean, I would be losing it. Then I would meet like the other artists. Like I remember at Hasbro, I had met the art director who at the time he used to be one of the illustrators and painters for G.I. Joe. And I'm like, man, this dude used to create the packaging art that inspired me. You know what I mean? And I'm sitting there, I couldn't not tell you what we were talking about. I was just amazed that I was standing in his presence, So it was stuff like that. It was like meeting your hero, that rock star God for the first time, but over and over and over every day. And I think that reinforced me, like, to be positive, to be creative and innovative, or just have a good attitude walking in, because I would be pissed off, just like anybody else, having had to go into their job and stuff. But once I see like, those images of Optimus Prime or, He-Man or Spider-Man, it would just light me up. And I would just be in another world after that for 8 hours a day or more. It was very cool, very awe-inspiring.
I remember the second interview I ever did for Toys That Made Us was with Bud Budiansky. And I mean, I remember that like it was it's a minute ago. I mean, I was literally like, from this guy's, that thing on his neck came like everything to my child.
Yeah, like when I used to work at Hasbro, my cube was on the opposite side of Mark Boudreaux's cube.
Wow.
Let me tell you, and when I first started working at Hasbro, I was first on the Star Wars team and working on with Mark, like on Galactic Heroes and stuff like that. And it was just like, at first it was like, I knew what he worked on, but I didn't really know what he worked on, because a lot of toy guys, you just didn't know. They weren't out there like that, But when I realized like who Mark really was, I was like, oh my God. Like I just wanted to like kiss his feet. It was insane. And he would just matter of factly, like just talk about these epic moments in his life, like, creating the Millennium Falcon, coming up with the colors of the spaceships and stuff like that, like why they're white, you know what I mean? I'm like, are you kidding me? Like it's definitely a blessed situation to be able to come across individuals that I have come across. It's truly a blessing.
These stories are always so great. I mean, that's the part that connects even the people who don't collect, I think. Just the hearing like how something like that R2-D2 can drive you to do what you do for your life. Those are incredible. To me, those are incredible stories that just appeal to anybody.
And also like, me being like, an only child, and then it's also like other environmental things that come into play and things that happen to you. But it's like, when you're, a young kid in the inner city and you're trying to find your way and you don't know what's really going on, you kind of like, you develop a kind of like a shell, a tough exterior, but you still want to just drive it. It's like a competition thing. But, and for me, it was like my thing was always just toys and comic books and art and stuff. So it was, when my R2-D2 was stolen, I mean, I just felt like why would you do that? Like, why would you break into a house and steal a toy? Like, why? And that just obsessed me to no end. Just obsessed me to no end.
It's so interesting. Now, I know we have to talk about the show too. So I just want to ask Brian or Rich, when is this show released? Or how is it going to be released? Do you know?
When do you know when this WonderCon thing is airing or whatever, screening?
Probably next week or so.
Okay, because on Monday it's going to be announced, but it's coming out May 29th. It's going to premiere on Amazon Prime and YouTube simultaneously. We hope. And then it'll be every week, then it'll be on Hoopla, then it'll be on Pluto, then it'll be on Roku, and then it'll, hopefully it'll be on planes and boats and all that stuff too. So that's that plan. That answers your question, right?
Yeah, and are they all being released at once? Are you doing them one by one?
No, this might be unprecedented. We might be breaking new ground for the American the global TV business. We gonna pop them out as they're ready. So,
that's okay. Let's pop them out. Pop them out.
That could be our head of production, who Robin is very familiar with. Our head of production, Cisco, told me it's looking like 2 to 5 a month, and if it's 2 a month, that means we'll be premiering episodes, I think, until 2023.
Great.
But I'll find a way to speed it up. I'm not going to let it take. I mean, like I said, the main thing we're trying to do is get money and exposure to the stores as quick as possible. And by the way, there's a lot of things that Nacelle can control. Like, we can control the editing. We can control color correction. There's law firms that have to look at every episode to make sure we don't get sued. There's, we got to send it to Amazon, and then they got to ingest it. So there's a lot of variables that we don't control. So my goal is to have hopefully at least 4 a month come out starting, I don't know, maybe in June, probably July. But, and then we're also going to break it into seasons.
Okay.
So it's going to be 5 10-episode seasons, because then hopefully if we spend a month between season 1 and season 2, that'll let us get caught up a bit, and then we can really start popping them out faster. And then the other thing not in our control, and for all you toy stores listening, if you didn't get us the footage, we can't cut the footage. So send us that footage.
Yeah.
Are they half-hour episodes? Hour?
They're about 22 minutes each.
Great.
Brian, you said something that was pretty intriguing that caught my ear. You have a assistant named Cisco?
He's by the way, not only is he not my assistant, the joke at the company, which in my opinion is barely a joke, is that he's my boss. But Cisco is short for Francisco. He's from Spain. Yeah.
Okay.
Francisco Henson.
I'm thinking like, Drew Hill and, songs and, drinks, cocktails, video shoots. I'm thinking the whole thing when I hear Cisco.
That's Cisco, man.
Well, we actually
the block.
we kidnapped the captain of the Deep Space Nine and made him our president of production. So
Nice.
we're so shocked to see that.
Nice.
What haven't I asked you about the show that I should have asked?
I would turn Billy. I think we should give the microphone to Billy a bit, because he's the only one here that owns a store.
Right.
And Billy, give us obviously everybody who's seeing this will be seeing it before they see the episode. So what's it like to own a toy store during this crazy period?
Well, I mean, it's always crazy owning a toy store, but it's a little crazier financially right now. We just had the majority of our sales are retail and not online. That's why we have a store. And, we can still work in the store, but it's obviously not safe for us or the public to allow people in. So, yeah, it's hard, just making ends meet, really, and keeping everybody employed, if that's the goal. And, we're getting a lot of stuff done, so we'll be ready to rock and roll, as soon as this thing is, over and people are able to come in again. This whole project has been a project. It's a lot of work. I, have newfound respect for you guys being on, involved from the ground up and seeing what goes into it is, I'm impressed that you guys are doing this for all these stores. I honestly cannot believe that you were doing this with 50 stores. That's crazy to me.
Are you shifting most of your business to online though? Are you starting to shift?
We always sell stuff online, but the idea is that we are going to shift more to online, but we're still operating with the hopes that eventually there's going to be a vaccine and this thing's going to be under control, and we're not just going to be locked down forever. So we're doing a lot of projects that we could not normally do while the store is open, because most people have never been to my store that are probably watching this, and it's a small space and there's not a lot of room to work. So we're taking advantage of the lack of people to sort of get a lot of things cleaned and organized, and putting up some new fixtures and stacking up all the shelves, and just a lot of stuff to get done. And now I'm kind of worried that this whole thing's going to be over too soon and we're going to be stuck with a whole store full of messes.
Well, no, I was thinking when the show comes out and you're the premiere episode, they could start to look you up. You might get all the sales you could take.
Well, that's kind of the hope, right? But
right.
We'll see.
Well, I think it'll work, because I've been, reviewing rough cuts between 5 and 6 in the morning on this one. And literally I'll be texting Billy, can I buy that Megatron gun?
It's true. It's already working, because Brian bought something he saw that is in the episode, so it will no longer be available for sale. It's a little bit of a rarity, so good luck getting another one. What?
Is that Hogan record still there?
It is. Somebody who's trying to buy it from us online today, but they asked some unbelievably dumb questions about it because it's a picture disc, and they wanted to know where the pictures come from. Like, I think, I'll send you a shot of that message. I think you should buy that Hogan record.
Do you not sell stuff to dumb people?
I try not to, because it leads to a lot more problems than you could imagine. I like to sell stuff to people to understand what they are buying, because what I'm selling is not always the cheapest thing. And I want people to be happy with what they buy. And I would rather not sell something to somebody that is going to be unhappy with it than get their money and have them be unhappy with whatever they bought.
It's very admirable.
Yeah, that makes sense though. I mean, I get, but you're probably going to be inundated with orders. So
that's okay. I'm ready.
When you see the episode, whenever Billy, I'm always amazed at what Billy doesn't react to. So when you see Billy in the episode say bonkers, first of all, it's about the picture disc, but that means something is really, really crazy. If he's labeled it bonkers.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we're talking about this Hulk Hogan record, and this thing is definitely bonkers.
But from my point of view, Billy, knowing you 3-4 years, you've seen everything, you've done everything, like nothing ever phases you. That Hulk Hogan record really registered with you for being out there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that thing's amazing. It was very hard not to keep it. That's one of the perils of doing this professionally is, like you want to keep everything. And it took a lot of years to, I mean, I still obviously keep a lot of stuff, but I mean, when I first started, I was like, oh, I don't have one of those, so I got to keep it. And eventually I just had like a bunch of crap I didn't really care about. So then I sort of had to relearn how to collect and essentially focus on stuff that I cared about as opposed to just stuff.
Any other ideas percolating out there? The first question everybody always asks whenever we do a panel anywhere is what else is happening in the toy space as far as television. Any other ideas percolating there at Nacelle?
I mean, the big elephant in the room, as they say. Season 4 is marinating. Let me be as vague as possible, but it is the rubber is the chemicals are being squirted into the mold. There's a toy reference.
There you go.
There you go.
There we go.
Ideas are injection molded.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear because that's always the first question is, are there more toy shows? Are there other shows that Nacelle's coming up with that they can talk about that might interest the fans?
Well, as some people know, we're doing a show now with Disney Plus called Behind the Attraction with Dwayne Johnson and Robin Henry. How often does that get put in the same sentence? We're doing this great show that I'm working on with Rich and Robin for BET Plus called All the Way Black, which if you've seen our show Discontinued, you can probably guess what it's about. And then, a couple things we can't talk about yet that are slowly spooling. But we're very blessed to be this busy, especially this day and age.
Well, I know your fan base is waiting. More movies, more toys, more everything.
Be patient.
It always happens. It'll happen.
We have not started work on the sequel to 89 Redstone. But that, anyone who hasn't seen that, it's the greatest horror movie ever made. It's on Amazon Prime. Please watch at least 16 seconds of it.
89, what's it called? 89 Stone?
89 Redstone.
89 Redstone.
89 Redstone.
Yeah.
All right, 89. I need to see it.
It's the scariest movie you ever. If you're afraid of horror films, watch it during the daytime.
No, I need to see. I love horror, man. The cheesier, the better.
Yeah.
Well, this is straight from the Brian Volk-Weiss head. So this is, I've seen it, and it's
You
on
got
Amazon.
it too?
Wait, Robin. I've seen it, and it's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon.
I mean, you got to give a detailed review. You can't just say it's on Amazon.
I didn't stop watching it.
You
I
got
watched it till the whole thing.
You really
You
got
were
through the whole
captivated.
thing.
Huh?
You got through the whole thing, Robin, huh?
Yeah, I watched the whole thing.
You
know
were
this-
the one.
I gave you the running commentary, remember, as I was watching it. I was texting you, giving you a running commentary.
Rich, have you seen it?
I haven't seen it yet.
Dude, you're in quarantine.
I'm a busy guy, Brian. I got a lot going on.
I'm clutching my pearls.
Have you seen it, Billy?
No, I don't even know what you guys are talking about.
Amazon Prime. It's the only thing I've done in my career that's in the red.
Oh, I got the trailer up right now.
Oh no.
Gotta
Oh,
watch it,
yeah.
or at least 16 seconds worth.
And you got to get to the ending because the ending is like the best.
Wait, is this something you did, Brian?
Yeah, in 2013, the best way to explain it is Cisco, the aforementioned Francisco Henson, he like literally about a month after joining the company, I guess this is about 8 years ago, he literally described it as the worst comedy special of all time. I literally took my entire team. At the time, all we were doing was stand-up comedy, and I took my entire team offline and made a horror movie.
This is awesome.
Yeah, I'm like, wait, what'd you say, David?
This is awesome. This is awesome.
My favorite thing about it, if you look at the credits of all of our stand-up specials, it's the same credits of this horror movie. It's literally the same people. Anyway,
I love
It
it.
looks great, though. I mean, it's
I will
shot
say this,
well.
it's an okay trailer. I love trailers. It's an okay trailer. But
Okay, so when can we expect this sequel?
well, what I've been saying is I'm gonna wrap out my career making the sequel, and that's gonna be 89 Whitestone, and it's gonna be the first horror movie to take place entirely on a bridge. There's some random bridge that connects Queens to the Bronx called the
Yeah,
Whitestone Bridge,
yeah.
and the whole movie's gonna take place on the Whitestone Bridge.
Oh my God, that's what I call balls,
That's when you see that enter pre-production, you know I'm a year from moving to Montana.
brother.
Keep a space on your resume for that, David. They may need you.
Hey, listen, a brother need to work. I got kids, I got wife, you know what I mean? Family, child support, you know, like, hey.
By the way, fun fact, if you watch movies that made us, whenever we cut to like the movie posters, there's always like the movie that we're talking about poster, another movie that's real, and every single time we do that, you can see that Redstone poster. That's the
Nice.
third poster. And we did it because we owned it, so it was free, and also
Right.
maybe a little exposure.
89 Redstone. Listen, you got a fan. You got a fan. I'm going to the 89 Redstone fan page.
There you go.
I had to predict that does not exist.
Oh, he's making it right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, David's your first fan.
That'd be appropriate. The guy who made our fan club never saw the movie. That would actually be cosmic irony. All right, how do we wrap out a virtual? What do you got, Rich? Something relevant. I could tell.
I think that, and I'm hoping that I don't, lean into too much melodrama, but I think this has been a difficult time for everybody, and I'm glad that whoever is out there watching this panel right now got a little bit of reprieve, got a little bit of enjoyment, some entertainment, take their mind off things a bit, and we thank you so much for being a fan of our work, and please stay tuned for more, because there's a lot more coming, and just everyone be safe and be well out there. And thank you.
And you know, Rich, if I could follow on that, because those were very powerful words. A great way to get through the quarantine, 89, Redstone.
There you go.
Yes.
I stepped
I'm
on
gonna let my mom know. I'm gonna let my mom know too, because me and my mom, we love horror movies and whatnot. So I'm gonna let her know.
Tell her all I need is 16 seconds.
Hey, it's daylight. That's all I need. That's all I need.
Brian, I'll watch it this weekend. All right, you have my word. I'll watch
That's
it.
That's 3 clicks this month. That's gonna be.
Look at
That's
that.
almost 3/4. No, that's almost 1/3 of a penny. But it all adds up.
Oh, did you know it's available on YouTube?
It is? Huh.
Wait a minute, is it?
I've watched it. I just want you to know, Brian. From
It's an hour and 20 minutes, right?
end.
But the credits are very slow, David. So don't let that fool you. All right, somebody else say something nice so I don't ruin the moment. Sorry, Rich.
Rich.
Oh no, I just want to thank you, Robin, for
No
hosting.
problem.
Yeah, thank you, Robin.
Anything for you
David.
guys, as always.
Thank you, Billy. Thank you guys for.
Yeah, thank all of you guys. I mean, I'm looking forward for conventions to happen in reality again as opposed to virtually. So I am glad everybody's going to get to see this, but I miss everybody. I want to come down to California for shows and see you guys.
Wait, Billy. Can I end this on one of my favorite stories? Probably my number one favorite Billy Galaxy story.
I bet I know what you're going to say.
So he and I last year, we're in Chicago for Star Wars Celebration. And I hope I don't get in trouble with anybody for saying this, but there were these guys, and I want to say right now, these 2 guys turned out to be the nicest, sweetest people in the world. But I didn't know that. And they wanted to interview me in their hotel room. And they were I now respect that it was passion, but I didn't know them, so they were freaking me out. So I asked Billy to join me, because I didn't want to be alone. It was 2-1. I'm not a big fighter. So Billy joins me, and as we're walking in, I go, Billy, why don't you do it with me? It'll be more fun if it's both of us. So Billy's like, okay, sure. So we did this thing, and it was great. The guys were great, and Billy and I were awesome. We were like a really great, like, back and forth.
Yeah.
So I had another interview to do, and I was like, Billy, why don't you do that one with me too? And Billy's like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, yeah, and I swear to God, this is like not on purpose at all. I'm like, it's the Star Wars, this thing we had just done was like the Star Wars podcast. And the next thing was like the Star Wars show. So I'm like, all right, so we're literally walking around the whole place. And I finally go up to the security guard. I go, do you know where the Star Wars show is? And he was standing in front of this giant stage with like 3,000 people surrounding the stage. And he goes, well, that's the show. So literally we go backstage. The whole time, by the way, I thought it was wrong. And literally Billy and I are in front of over 3,000 people talking about Star Wars. And I've been in front of that many people before. I don't know if Billy has, but that was a very magical moment. And Rich had blown us off because he could have been there too, but he had blown us off.
I had a good reason. I had to go see my family.
It was the bris, right?
It was the christening for my niece. Yeah.
Brit. A little bit different.
Something I would have been disowned for had I missed, but I'm still a little bummed I missed the Star Wars show.
Next year. Or maybe
Next time.
we'll see.
Hey,
And on that note, Brian,
Robin, it's your ball to call.
and on that note, if you guys have spoken, we're just looking forward to seeing the show, May 28th,
29th.
29th. And the title of it is again, can you say it again?
Should we all say it at the same time?
Yes.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
A toy
store near you.
You.
A toy store near you. Okay. We'll be looking for it.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody. WonderCon!
WonderCon!
WonderCon.